Hey friends, it's Laura with Laura's Handmade Haven. Welcome or welcome back. I'm so glad you joined me today. We're going to be talking about that seam guide tape that I use on my machine today. I know I mentioned it in a lot of my videos that I use washi tape on my machine, that I haven't purchased the seam guide tape. I'm not saying you should not purchase the seam guide tape. I'm not telling you that this is the way to go. I'm just telling you I had it in the closet, so I'm all about saving some money when I can, and I didn't need another roll of tape for anything in my craft room. So I just decided to use some washi tape. But let me explain how I'd have done that and how I measure it, how I get it centered, how I get it aligned, all of those good things. We're going to first start at the cutting mat because I want to point out a couple measurements that you want to check out if you have your own stash of washi tape that you plan to use. Then we're going to head on over to the sewing machine and we'll actually put it on the machine so you can see how I've done that, how I line it up, and how you can too. All right, so the seam guide tape helps you figure out where that 1/4 inch is, and especially when you're doing half square triangles and you're doing point to point on your squares. That's definitely what it's used for the most. And it also kind of helps you just know where your pieces are going to be at when you're feeding them through the machine. So there are a couple measurements that you need. One of them is you need a 1/4 inch. So if I put this washi tape on my cutting mat and just put it right there on that line, I know that this washi tape is exactly 1/4 inch wide. Now, this other one is not, but it doesn't matter. You need one of your washi tapes to be 1/4 inch. The other one, it doesn't really matter the width on it because you're not going to be using it for that 1/4 inch measurement. You're just going to be using it for lining it up. So this one is actually about 3/8 of an inch wide. But again, like I said, it doesn't really matter how wide this one is. You just want to make sure one of them is 1/4 inch wide. So round up some washi tape, make sure one of them is 1/4 inch wide, and let's head on over to the machine. Now, as you can tell, my washi tape is getting a little worn, and that is one of the reasons why I'm showing you how to do this today. The other reason is because someone asked. And I do read comments and I try to fill those needs as you share them with me. I probably should have taken this off the machine before I started filming, but I didn't. So if you have washi tape on your machine and you can't get it off, find yourself a very flat, thin spatula. This is actually a Cricut tool. It's for getting little pieces off of the Cricut mats, but it's working great for this too. Now this washi tape, it's been on there quite a while actually. I'm going to say a couple years at this point, at least. And that's why, that's why it's getting worn. And I am going to clean this too before we apply the new. Okay, so I'm just going to use a cotton swab and some Goo Gone to get some of the sticky residue off of my extension table that was left behind from the washi tape. It doesn't really leave that much residue, but it's enough that I don't want to have that on there before I put fresh washi tape over it. And then in case you have never used Goo Gone, that's what it looks like, and you can get it Amazon, Walmart, Menards. Pretty much any place that has some cleaning supplies should have Goo Gone. And then just to get the excess Goo Gone off of my extension table, I'm going to use just a piece of scrap fabric to just wipe off some of the excess Goo Gone because I want that really nice, clean, and dry before I put that washi tape on there, just to make sure I have really good adhesion with the washi tape. All right, so we are ready to apply our new seam guide with the washi tape. And I am just going to use one of my rulers. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the presser foot, and I'm going to use the hole on the ruler to start the lining up process, right? So I'm going to put that under my presser foot and lower it and make sure the hole is like underneath where the needle will come down. You don't want to try to put the needle through your ruler. That would not be good. It's going to break and that would be a problem. So make sure you have the hole underneath the needle so the needle can go down through the hole. We're just going to use the needle and the needle plate to make sure we have a really straight line and measurement for our washi tape. So I'm swung the ruler around to the back, and I'm using the needle plate itself to line up some of the lines on the ruler, like to make sure that they're straight with some of the lines on the needle plate. And that way I can make sure that it's all straight. And when I put my washi tape on there, the washi tape will be on my extension table straight. So that way it will be able to be used. Okay, so I'm going to grab a second ruler and I'm going to line it up 1/4 of an inch to the left of where my needle hits. And the reason I'm doing 1/4 inch is because my washi tape is 1/4 inch wide, right? So I want to be able to lay my washi tape down alongside this second ruler in a straight path out from my needle. So I'm going to set it at 1/4 of an inch to the left, and that way I can run that washi tape right down alongside my ruler. And let me move you back a little bit. I'm just going to tear some washi tape off the spool, and I'm going to stick it just on the extension table, straight down along that side of the ruler. Now I'm going to double check everything here to make sure it is really good and straight. And I can tell I was a little off here at the front edge of the extension table. So I'm just going to pull up the washi tape very carefully and adjust that. Getting that snug up against the ruler. And this is really the most difficult part of this whole process, just getting that first piece of washi tape good and straight. Now, if you remember, our second piece of washi tape is 3/8 of an inch wide. It doesn't really matter. I just want that right up against the edge of this 1/4 inch, which is the red washi tape. And then I am just going to fold the ends under, and I'll be able to use this for my seam guide on my sewing machine. Okay, so how do you use this? What do you use it for? Well, I don't like pressing my fabric in half, and I don't like drawing lines. So I can take a square and I can put it with the point at my needle. So that uppermost point on this square is on my needle, and the lower point is right on the right side edge of the red washi tape, which is that 1/4 inch. And this allows me to sew straight from point to point across a square. And you can do a pretty big square like this. I think I probably went up to like a 6-inch square like this, so it's pretty nice. Now, let's say you're making 2 half square triangles out of a square. You can also, if you're using a 1/4 inch piecing foot, you can put the point of the square on the left-hand side of your presser foot, and then the lower point on the left-hand side of your red washi tape, and sew, and then you're a 1/4 inch seam away from the center of the square. And then you just turn it around and flip and sew the other side. And now you've made like 2 half square triangles from the pieces of fabric rather than the stitch and flip corner or just having the excess waste. So this is why I use it. This is why I like the seam guide. I just didn't want to buy seam guide tape. So yeah. So there you have it. One of you commented and wanted to know how I set up my washi tape on my extension table, how I use that for a seam guide. So that's exactly what I do. Nothing too fancy there, just a couple pieces of washi tape, and I'm able to sew across my squares without marking them, which is really nice. It does really save me a lot of time, and I do like having that on my extension table. The reason I didn't buy seam guide tape is because I had this in my closet, so why buy it if I don't need to, right? All right, so until next time, I hope you find joy in all you do. Carve out some time for crafting and creating, and remember, it's always better when you make stuff up.